Well, and Aaron is an arrow killer, like cannibalizer.
They go there to die.
Yeah, they go to his house to die. They're going to die. They're going to get shot out. And so, budget-minded arrows resonate with Aaron.
Yeah.
I'll come to his house, and I think he fletches arrows as therapy.
Some people do. I find it to be like, I'd rather be on I need to be on Oxycontin.
I think he likes to smell the glue.
Could be.
And then the therapeutic aspect of just building arrows.
We spine sort them all, straightness test them, and we want that for everybody. When Danny or Perkins or one of our pro archers wants a dozen arrows, or Marlowe or whoever it is, Sharon Carpenter, now Sharon Wallace or Kaylee, they want arrows. Mm-hmm. Send them the same dozen. I send that guy right there.
That's something that's unique about Black Eagle is that the spine, the dynamic spine being so like we almost don't have to cull any arrows from a dozen, right. Which matters when you're setting up a bunch of broadhead arrows.
Sure.
And you need them to fly accurately. I think I've used the Spartans, I've used the Rampage, I've used the Outlaws and the Carnivores.
Yeah, what's your favorite?
All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. I'm at the ATA show with Randy Kitts from Black Eagle Arrows, and this is when was the last time? Was it last year?
No,
it was. We didn't connect last year.
No, we didn't
at the ATA show.
I think it was the year before.
Yeah,
this will be maybe 2 years.
Yeah,
I thought when I came in, it might have been 3, but I think it was 2.
Yes. I think you're right. Yep. Randy Black Eagle I prefer that. Kitts what is Kitts? Like, it seems short for something. Do you know what language it is?
Killer.
Killer?
No, I don't know. It's so funny. My brother now, I guess we have to make sure that we are actually brothers, but he sent this thing off to that genealogy.
Yes.
Whatever you do, right? And all this time, my grandma's like, my mother was 100% Cherokee Indian. I'm like, oh, it's going to be cool. We'll be like an 8th or 16th.
Uh-huh.
0. I'm 3% Moroccan. 44% Irish, which I tan well. I don't like to drink. I can't figure. We may not be brothers.
Right.
I'm 3% Moroccan.
No, I've seen that. My friends did that. And it's interesting how genetics work. Because you can have, two siblings. One can be like you said, 44% Irish.
Yeah.
And like 2% Greek.
Yeah. Right.
And you're like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And then someone else their brother, their blood brother can be, 80%, Indian, and then like 20% Irish. And you're like, what is it? Wait a second. How come they're brother and sister?
Are you still my father?
And so, yeah, that's what I always tell people too when they talk about, like they go to pick a puppy out of a litter,
right,
and they're like, I want to get a dog, and so they look at you look at the breeding pair, right?
Oh, sure,
mother and the father,
right,
blah blah blah, and then they go and they're like, I just need one from those parents, and I'm like, have you seen the diversity between kids in a 5-8 kid family?
Right.
Like I grew up one of 8.
Oh, wow.
My brother and I, we are not similar. So you can't, and sisters, right? You cannot look at, just because they're brother and sister, they're so different from one another.
Right.
And there are some overlap, right? But it's not as big a factor as people think it is.
Sure. Yeah, he sent me that, and he goes, man, we're 44% Irish. I went, what in the world are you talking about? I don't get sunburnt. I tan well. I don't like to drink. I used to, but don't like to drink anymore. And, I thought, well, I'm going to at least some Indian. He goes, no Indian. But we are. I think it wasn't 3. It's actually 4% Moroccan. I just got the biggest kick. So now my daughter, we were on vacation to Cayman Islands, and they were playing some kind of tropical music, and she's standing out there, she's dancing. I'm like, what in the hell are you doing? She goes, I'm getting in touch with my Moroccan roots. I go, oh my gosh.
Hey, it's in there somewhere.
It's somewhere deep down inside. But we don't need belly dances to see if that's even what the hell they do in Morocco. Who knows?
So where did the name Black Eagle? Why Black Eagle? Like you look around and you see gold tip and you see why Black Eagle? I think first of all, it's badass.
Yeah, totally.
It's
have you ever seen a Black Eagle? Like it really is a bird.
Is it?
It catches deer. Like
really?
A falconer. I got a YouTube video of this guy walks out in this field and he's holding this black eagle, and it's man, thing's like 3 foot tall. And he launches it, and the guy's like, whoa. This thing comes out and comes down and snatches this deer while it's running through a field.
I'm down with that.
I need a black
See, that's
eagle.
what I mean. That's badass.
Totally.
Better than gold tip.
Yeah.
I'm not picking on them.
No, better name.
But, it's a name.
You
But
don't even have a tip that's gold.
it's like, it's cool, but it's not Black Eagle.
Right.
Even the logo and the...
It's actually a fighter plane from the top down. The actual name came from a fighter plane. Like the old vintage fighter plane was a Black Eagle. Because when we tried to do the name, it took us so long. Even with arrow names, it's the most difficult thing that we've... Making an arrow is easy. Getting a name sucks. Because you're like, what do you think about this? Like, nah, I think it sucks. All right. You look it up,
matters,
you go, that was
I
out
guess.
10 years ago. That was out 8 years ago. Nah, that means this in another language. Like, come on already.
So, Black Eagle, who's we when you came up with this?
So it started with Kyle Baker. He was here with us this week. He had to go back to New Hampshire. He does all of my, all of our web design, all of our catalog, all of our media type things. And Jason is where it started, Jason Wilkins, my sales manager. And so, we started vetting around the name. We had all kinds of ideas for arrows, but what are we going to name the company?
Yeah.
And that's what we landed on. And I thought, guys started making fun. It's like a bat. And then some of the guys from other arrow companies call it the Black Seagulls. But then they realized once tournament season, we just flew around and crapped all over them. So.
It's funny. It's like it's a competitive industry.
It is. And we should be competitive. And competition is great. But what we don't need to do is be malice or have ill intent towards each other. That's the part I think I talked about a little bit last time that we had our podcast. That's the part I don't like about it because, these shooters, they're loyal and, almost to a fault to where it becomes just too much ill intent. We could be competitive. We can go out.
It's like Chevy Ford, and then a guy comes along and he's like, we can't be friends. Because you drive a Ford,
right?
That's when you're like you're going, what? We're both into trucks,
right?
We both like hunting. Can we not both just maybe disagree on this?
Right. God forbid you throw a Dodge in there, right? You're
I
you're
drive
out of
a
the family.
Dodge.
You're leaving the family. You're not my brother. Even though you're 4% Moroccan, you are not my brother.
So Black Eagle is what you came with, and then. I like it. I like names. I think the name of a company speaks volumes for it. I think a lot of times people overlook the importance of it.
Right.
And I like it to be unforgettable. I like it to be, just stick in your mind.
Sure.
And then I think that it sort of shapes in your mind what it is you do and what your brand is.
Right.
I like the word grit. I've always liked it and Gritty, and I wanted to, have Gritty be part of the image and the idea of what I do.
Yeah.
And so I was looking around trying to figure out what to name it, and I landed on what I did, and I'm glad. But I often see names where I'm like, what was that name? Last night I was asking Jordan, what was the name of that? Blah blah blah, and they were like, it's like The Hunting Show.
Originality of 36.
That's like really rough,
Oh yeah.
This guy is a bull rider.
No kidding.
Yes. From where was it, Derek? Like Alabama, Georgia.
Nice.
Yeah.
Straight up bull rider.
Ride a bull. Yeah. He got
That's
stepped
legit.
on in the face once, which explains a lot. See, man.
Much respect.
Yes. I didn't expect that.
He just kind of walked over the hobble.
Doesn't he?
Like
Doesn't he?
broke.
He's been bucked off a few times.
Yeah, my femur's been cracked at least once, maybe a pelvic bone.
That's right.
He's kind of broke.
Yes. Anyway, so tell me about where you're at with Black Eagle. Like, what's been going on?
Yeah, we've just been growing exponentially. Had another awesome year last year. Industry was down. Hate that, but we had a very good increase last year. Picked up a great OEM in Raven crossbows, so that was really good for us. Working with those guys has been great.
Controversial crossbow.
Oh man, thanks. Yeah, I don't know how controversial it is, but I can tell you what, it's a shooter. I'm not here propping anybody's product because we make crossbows for a lot of folks, but it helped us out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And we make them for Scorpid, and they make a great crossbow. And Camex with the outdoor group, they make a great product. And make them for Bowtech for their striker bow, another great bow. There's so much great product out there. I mean, there was a time that, growing up in this industry, just being an archer or hunter, I mean, there was some speculative product in the early days.
Yeah.
The old rangefinder, you had to get the window and roll the wheel, and it got clearer and clearer, and it goes 25 yards. You go, that may or may not be 25 yards.
Yeah. We did a podcast the other day with Kyle Lamb, and he was talking about loading a crossbow bolt back in the day. And he's like, now you can pull them with your hands and load it. But he's like, he was in a blind, and he put the arrow on there and shoots the animal, and he's like ready for the next arrow, but you have to like have a loader and a cranker, and technology's come so far.
I mean, I remember growing up, my uncle had a PSE Foxfire. Man, that thing had to be 3.5 feet wide. He said when it went off, it literally sounded like a 12 gauge.
He said it was like carrying a bag of coat hangers or something like that through the woods.
Yeah, probably multiples. They're super heavy, super loud. But yeah, so we've been growing good. We had an awesome year last year on the tournament trail, ASA tournaments, IBO, even indoor. We did pretty good. But last year we were like 4 or 5 podium finishes from winning more than every other arrow company combined in the ASA tournament. So it's when you're in with 3 iconic brands: Easton, Carbon Express, Gold Tip, been around forever, all make great product. I mean, you always have a little bit of trepidation, obviously, when you're around those folks because they are so iconic. And, we competed against them really well. I think we earned some respect in the industry. It's on the pro podium side. So, yeah, it's great. We had an awesome year. And hopefully this year we'll have a repeat. We come out with a new arrow this year, Target Arrow. We feel like our hunting lineup is pretty good. So we come out with a PS27, the 27 series arrow, 420 OD. I think the max you can have is 422 for Vegas. And it debuted its first tournament in Iowa, and Chris Perkins, our male pro, won Iowa. So that's pretty cool. So we're off to a good start this year, and we got a lot of great support out there, a lot of great support through you guys. So it's been a pretty good ride so far. Yeah.
For people who haven't listened to our Arrow podcast, we've done a few. I did one with Corey Miller. And we talk about spine and dynamic spine, and it's a really good one to watch on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's some visual education that goes around arrows and nock tuning and stuff like that, tuning an arrow, building an arrow, and just how arrows are built in the industry in general. And then kind of how Black Eagle is built.
Right.
Being different. And we go over that in a couple podcasts, and then Aaron and I go over arrows again. We did a couple shows where he did some four-fletch and set them up, and so we've been using them for a couple of years, and I've gone through. I think I've used the Spartans, I've used the Rampage, I've used the Outlaws, and the Carnivores.
Yeah, what's your favorite?
So far for me, I think my favorite arrow has been the Rampage.
Yep. It's a good one. We sell a lot. West Coast is a huge market for us for Rampage arrows. Probably because of Corey. Started there, and Jim Nealon. And we got a lot of great dealers up through Oregon, Washington, Idaho. Do a great job. I think it started with Corey, but, man, the Rampage is it's so awesome.
I like the Rampage. I like the smaller diameter. And I also like the Spartans.
Yeah. That's what I hunt with.
The Spartan.
Yeah.
The Outlaws were good. I liked the Spartans better, and I like the Rampage.
Yep.
I mean, so I'm still kind of – the Carnivores I haven't used very much. Right. Aaron has been really the Carnivore user. And Aaron is an arrow cannibalizer. Have you ever met someone who shoots more arrows than that guy?
No, he goes through some arrows.
Insane.
Yep.
Like we'll all come to his house, and I think he fletches arrows as therapy.
Some people do. I find it to be like I'd rather be on I need to be on Oxycontin.
I think he likes to smell the glue.
Could be.
And then the therapeutic aspect of just building arrows. But he'll sit there and, he'll get I don't know how many dozens, and he'll fletch them these different ways, and he'll fill up buckets, 5-gallon buckets with just have arrows just in there, and then he'll go and he'll launch them. He'll go and
at everything,
shoot at everything. He loves it. He loves tinkering with them. He loves building new ones.
Sure.
And he loves just being able to shoot them and not worry about the cost.
Right.
And fortunate for him, he's in an industry and in a position where he can do that. Like
sure.
Other people, I remember when I first met him, I said, I've had the same 12 arrows for 2 years. And he was like, looked at me like I had 3 heads. Like,
right.
How is that even possible?
Right.
And I'm like, he's like, you must never shoot. And I did. I always shot, but I was like 50 and in.
Right.
And I was like, if I thought it was risky, I was like, I ain't shooting that arrow over there.
Right.
And, but it gets in your head, and being able to hang out with Aaron and then be able to shoot. Now I would look at arrows differently than I did in the past, where I get arrows through you, so I don't buy them either. But at this point in my life, if I could go back, I'd invest the money in buying multiple dozens of arrows, because now I see the value in it. Because when I go out and I'm able to just take a shot at something, and I'm like, yeah, I might lose that arrow, I might not. It feels a lot better when I have 2 dozen at home,
right,
than when I have 12.
Right.
Especially
when you travel and you go places. I mean,
that's the
guys go on a hunting trip. I've been in camp, guys, like I brought 6 arrows. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, I really feel like the hunting industry in general, the arrow manufacturers should be giving Sean DeGray a kickback for the Total Archery Challenge. Because, dude, those courses eat arrows like thousands and thousands of them.
Yeah, for sure.
And guys will show up now with a couple dozen arrows to finish out the course over 3 days. And it's fun because you're like, that's a 120-yard shot. No problem,
I'll let that one ride.
And you'll take 2 or 3 shots at it, It's just really fun. I realized that I used to hold back on shots. So I wasn't really sure what my limits were.
Right. Yeah.
Because I didn't want to lose an arrow.
Right.
And now it's so much confidence building when you're like, I'm going to shoot between those 2 trees. And it's like I got a 3-inch window. And if I can make it through there, I'll hit this thing in the heart. I shot with Corey Jacobson and at the Total Archery Challenge event. And being able to thread the needle like that over and over again and realize, I can make that shot, where in the past I was so price sensitive. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Right. I'm the guy that won't pay for a hotel and sleeps in the back of the truck.
No way.
Aaron's like, dude, I'll pay for it. And I'm like, well, if you'll pay for it, I'll go in the hotel. But I am like, I'd rather sleep in the truck.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you got to get out there, you got to shoot, you got to build confidence. I mean, it's mostly, I say a lot of times, archery is about 8 inches wide, or 6. If you're like me, I got a 7 3/8 inch head. It's between your ears. And when folks lose confidence, and I've watched pro shooters do it, they absolutely come apart, like unglued apart. It's so mental. And, having that mental stability and that confidence in yourself when you get out there to make that shot. Because, you go on these trips, and I get to go on trips myself. I pay for mine.
Yeah.
I know you do, too. But you're out there. Man, God, some people save up for a lifetime.
Yeah.
I was talking with who was the gentleman that was sitting here talking to me earlier? Dwayne?
Yes.
And he's guys in Colorado. He's like, man, guys come out and do these wilderness trips, and they've saved up all their lives.
Yep.
And when you get out there, you may have to you got to be prepared to shoot as far as you can possibly shoot. It's, ethically, morally, within yourself. So you're not wounding an animal and spend the next 5 days tracking blood. But it's so important to, be in shape and all those good things. But got to have the confidence to do it versus just winging it, thinking, it'll get there.
Aaron doesn't really struggle with confidence.
No, he's a great shot. I watched him shoot on some of your channels or the YouTube.
Yep.
I see him on the Instagram and those things.
He can shake it off, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think that is, if I have one word that I feel like really describes Aaron, is it's resilient. Like, you can beat him with a hammer. Like, you can do things should damage a guy's confidence.
Right.
And Aaron can be like, well, that was yesterday. Today's today. And just step back up.
Yep.
Yeah, I got slammed yesterday, but today is today. And I'm like, it's hard. It's harder for me.
Sure, it's hard for me too. I mean, we got one guy that shoots for us. It's Jacob Marlowe, and young kid, just a great kid. I call him kid because he's younger. He's not a kid, he's an adult. But he last year at the Lancaster shoot off, he got into the shoot down, and he's the kind of guy that just water on a duck's back, man. It doesn't matter. It's just all good. He's laughing, having fun. I think he made to like number 2 or number 3 in the shoot down. I mean, he's beating the best shooters in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Rio and Logan are there.
You could
and
bottle that up.
Oh, right. It just doesn't matter. He's like, oh, this is great. This is fun. He's making shots and like, holy cow, this kid's, and he's a great shot, but it just didn't bother him. Most guys get up there, they're on these 2 pedestals. Mm-hmm. You got hundreds of people standing around watching. You got a live screen in front of you. It'd just be nerve-wracking in general. I was talking with Adam Vinatieri yesterday, and he's like, man, I can kick a field goal with 80,000 people, no problem. He goes, I shoot next to somebody, just kind of gets to be.
It's interesting. I've had a few. I had a conversation with John Dudley and Andy Stump the other day, and we were talking about making shots in the heat of the moment, under pressure, and he's like, yeah, it's easier. It was easier for me to shoot people. I was less nervous shooting at people,
right,
than I was shooting at, an animal with a bow.
Sure.
And he's just like, I don't know what it is, but there's something about it that, of course, very nervous about getting shot at.
Right. Oh yeah.
Return,
for sure.
But not at shooting at the target and stuff. So pretty interesting. Like I've heard a few people talk about the adrenaline, the excitement that comes. You talk to Joe Rogan, who's done fighting. Going
right.
MMA kind of stuff and jiu-jitsu, and that seems like that's a one-on-one. There's a lot of adrenaline there.
Right.
And he's like, there's nothing like it when you have a bull elk walk in front of you screaming and you shoot it. And it's like, really? Because I've never been, in an MMA ring, but I would think that would be nothing like it, right?
Ever.
And so I think he's right. I don't think that one takes away from the other in any way, like one's better than the other.
Right.
I think that they're both like the pinnacle of kind of that human struggle, Shooting an animal is kind of that. It's a big deal taking a life and doing that whole thing. And it's a big deal hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of in our DNA, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
We're only here because we were able to, our ancestors hunted, and they were able to survive in battle, right? Like,
It took it literally. We said, let us make man and give him dominion over everything. They went, so be it.
Yes.
We kill everything. Each other, everything.
Everything. But
you talked about that taking a life. I took my son, James, who does all of our shipping and everything. I think I talked on the last podcast we did about he gave up everything, but we weren't sure how much that was to come work for Black Eagle. He took his first animal in Texas at Cibolo Creek with Brian down there. He shot a buffalo.
Really?
And he thought that was the best. And it was. It's super cool. But his first animal was a buffalo. He's like, I had to get myself prepared. Because he went to hunt for the meat, right? It's free ranging. Guy's got like 30,000 acres down there. We chased these things for like 12, 16 miles.
Yeah.
But he had to get himself mentally right to take the life of another for me.
Yeah.
Like that was probably the coolest thing I've done. Then after that, he went ham, right?
Right.
He ended up shooting a
changes
great mule
your
deer.
It man.
Does.
Yeah.
It does. But his first animal was a buffalo. My first animal was probably a squirrel or a rabbit. Your first animal was a buffalo. Got shooting Tatanka.
Talk about going wild. Tell me, what is the best-selling arrow that you make? Like, which one is the one most purchased arrow you got?
Oh, it's probably going to be. Used to be carnivores. It's probably going to toss between a carnivore and a zombie slayer.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think the zombie slayer, at first people are like, I don't believe in zombies. Well, guess what? I don't either. I know it's hard to imagine, but I live in Georgia. They film it there. Well, I don't believe in zombies either. But it was a cool name at the time. The arrow's crested, so you could see it from the Hubble telescope. Man, it's super bright, durable, straight, all the great things we put into an arrow. So I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
And the carnivore's a lightweight arrow, and the zombie slayer's a little bit heavier. And then I would probably say on a per piece, it's going to be our crossbow arrow. We see the crossbow market just exponentially growing.
Interesting.
Significant growth in the crossbow world. And then it's probably on a sheer units if it's probably the outlaw because of the price point. It's the only price point arrow that's a 0.05 or better.
Yeah, true. Right.
Yeah, so it's got super tight tolerances, everything you look for in an arrow, but it's built like most people's better.
Got it. So tell me this, like, what do you think what advice do you have for a guy that's out there, been shooting bows for a long time, but is ready for a new set of arrows? How should a guy look for arrows? How should he find an arrow?
I think you go to a pro shop. Go to a pro shop, talk to some folks, get some good advice. I said always ours aren't the best. They're just not. Maybe the best for you, but they're not the best for every listener. What's best, what works best out of your bow, your setup, and really in between your ears.
Yeah.
And if that's what's best for you, that's what you should shoot. You don't have to go out and buy a $189 arrow a dozen to shoot great. You just don't, right? You may not have the ability to, or they may not perform well enough for you to.
Yeah.
I think you can start off somewhere in the middle or even a price point arrow, get yourself used to it, and work your way up the continuum. I mean, when you go out and first start running or you decide to start jogging one day, you probably don't go out and buy a $250 pair of running shoes because you may not run very long. And as you work up, you get better. If you're a cyclist, whatever it is, you don't go out and buy the best bike.
Yeah.
And I think often people maybe take what they see out there, from a pro archer or a TV celebrity, go, man, that's what he's shooting. Well, he's probably got some advantages, right? And it may be beyond your ability. And that's not demeaning to anybody. It's beyond my ability.
Yeah.
I can't shoot 100 yards with the bow.
Yeah.
Danny can, Aaron can, Gillingham can, all those guys. I can't. And I could have the exact same setup. I could spend, $3,000 on a target bow. I couldn't shoot 20 up on an ASA course. I just don't have the ability.
Right.
But Levi does it almost every time he goes out.
I know.
But, so I think that sometimes that we get caught up in I have to have what they have. And while that does help us in the arrow business, a lot of guys shoot what they see people winning with. If it helps them mentally, it's great. If they shoot them and they perform better, that's even better. But what troubles me is when people buy things thinking it's going to make them better, and it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that's kind of the disappointment of it all, because you just soon talk to them and say, but I'll try this first, because you just may not have the ability.
We all fall into that.
Sure.
It's like, well, if I get this bow and this arrow, that'll fix the reason. This is what I won't miss that elk next year.
Yeah.
Or that whitetail, whatever. And it doesn't work like that. I always tell myself this too, like financially, about money and things. There's a lot of people in this world that think if they just made more money, they'd be happy.
Right.
If I just had a little more money, if I just had this car, or if I just had this, then I'll be happy. And the reality is, and something I check myself on every day, is if I'm not happy today, the way I am now, and with the money I have now, more money's not going to fix it.
No, you'll just spend it.
Yeah, it doesn't fix it. And the same is true. Like, if I can't shoot now, because today's stuff is
so good.
If I can't shoot like a budget bow and an arrow setup well now with what I've got, spending thousands of dollars to change it up isn't gonna change that.
No, it may change what's between your ears, and you may shoot better at first. I mean, I think
it motivates you.
Yeah,
it's like a placebo effect.
You betcha.
It's like now you actually go out and practice because you have a cool new bow and it's fun to shoot.
Sure,
that I can see happening, but I think still the fundamental issues aren't fixed necessarily.
Right.
And so I agree with you in the sense that a lot of times I noticed this with Aaron. I can shoot Aaron's bow, and it's perfectly tuned. And so it's tuned so well that Aaron can hit the target at 100 yards consistently. I won't be able to tell that it's tuned that well, any different from the bow that hits at 50, because I don't have the accuracy, the skill to tell that it's tuned that well.
Right.
So you don't appreciate what you have.
Right.
You don't appreciate the perfection that's in
Sure.
there. And so until you get good or much, much better, you won't even that additional purchase or
Right.
that edge you're looking for, you can't even value it.
Sure, because in a lot of it parlays over even from the target world. But we're at the tournaments and guys go, I want them big arrows. I want them line cutters.
Yeah,
I missed so many arrows by that much. I could have had 20 extra points. And I would guarantee you, if you put those on and shoot them next time, you're probably going to shoot the same score or worse because they're so much more critical. You made a bad shot, and not trying to be a jerk by no means, but that's the reality of it, right? And so just work on your shot, work on your technique, work on your form, stick with what you got because it's not going to make you better.
It seems like shooting a fat arrow like that is you're trying to take a shortcut to the end goal.
And they do it at an early age, like kids. Like, I need a fat arrow for what? I missed so many points by this much.
But I think at times
you just missed.
You're shooting for you're shooting for missing.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's trying to compensate. Like I make a bad shot. It's like guys who shoot big broadheads.
Yeah.
I got me a 2 3/4 inch cut. Oh, holy cow! You can stick your hand through it, but for what? Well, if it's marginal, it's going to kill it. No, if it's marginal, that deer's going to run off way away from where you are and die somewhere, and you're probably still not going to find it.
Right. Right.
Make a good shot. I mean, I've killed many of animals with an 1 1/16, 1.5 inches, 1 3/8. If you put it in the right spot, you don't go far.
What broadheads are you liking right now?
Helix. Tim's back in the game, so it's a 2-blade single bevel, and had to shoot some kudu because Tim, his sharpener went down. He shoots for us, and I like to be reciprocal in this industry. I buy all my stuff from dealers.
Yeah.
Folks think that you would get everything free. I don't take anything for free
Yeah.
that's out there to speak of. I mean, every now and then somebody will bless you with a gift.
Yeah.
And if you believe in giving, then, you can't take a blessing from somebody even though you really don't want to, because if they believe in the same thing you believe, then give as it shall be given to you, good measure, pressed down, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I go to my dealers to buy my stuff. And, so those are the two that I like, and it's not atypical because most compound shooters don't shoot single bevel 2-blade broadheads.
No,
but they fly great. The penetration is incredible. My son shot that buffalo this year. Shot all the way through the buffalo twice.
I think there's more guys going that way though
Yeah.
than there has been in a long time. There's a resurgence.
It should be. All the testing that I've done, and I bought a lot of broadheads. I think one year I was trying to find a broadhead that flew like a field point because they all say they do. And in reality, and it's just with my setup that I had,
Right.
they all didn't. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter which ones, but they all didn't. But it cost me about $500 at dealer pricing in broadheads. And I found these two here worked really good.
Yeah.
And so that's what works out of my arrow. I shoot Spartan 300s. I run 30 grains of brass on the insert out of my bow, and it works. It works great.
We used some iron wheel broadheads this year. Really expensive, but they're amazing, and they fly like with perfection. They were a little loud, and so I think they were working on that a little bit.
Yep.
And been talking to them.
Are they 2-blade?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I shot a Gravedigger, the mechanicals.
Yep.
A couple of those, like a cut-on contact Gravedigger.
Yeah.
And I had great success with the Gravedigger, and then I had some not so great success, like
Right.
some problems with the mechanical part of it, you
Yep.
know. And now I'm like, well, I'm moving toward the fixed.
Sure. If you can get them to fly out of whatever your rig is that you have, I don't know there's a better solution. If there is, I don't know. And you do penetration tests. I mean, nothing cuts like a cut-on contact broadhead.
Yeah.
Not a chisel point, not a round, not a needle
amazing.
point. It is cut-on contact. The pounds of pressure it takes is so minimal. It's in the single digits.
Yeah.
Versus one of the others, it's north. Some of them are north of 50 pounds of kinetic energy. If you're only pushing 60, you're not going to go in very far.
That's part of my problem. Like Aaron shooting logs out of his bow.
Yeah.
And they're heavy.
He's pulling
and
80 pounds.
He's pulling heavy loads, and he's got a nice draw length, and he gets a lot of power.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of kinetic energy, momentum. And so when he shoots a mechanical, like he really can drive that through
Sure.
and use it. I have like a 28, 28.5-inch draw. I have a lower poundage bow. I went higher. I've shot higher in the past. This year I really experimented with lower, and it felt great. And I shot better than I've ever shot before, but for accuracy. Mm-hmm. But I'm still dealing with the fact that I don't have the heaviest arrow or the heaviest front or center.
Right.
And I could see the arrow really, the wind really affected my arrows.
Sure.
Far more than Aaron. We
Right.
shoot at the same target, and I got to aim off a lot compared to Aaron.
Right.
And so then you put that into a real world scenario in the mountains, and it's like, how far do you aim off? And Aaron's one of those gifted archers, someone probably natural at it, but also someone who's put in the time. We'll go to a 3D range. He can feel the wind on his face. You kind of feel it in the air. And Aaron will just aim off a certain amount for drift and hit. And I'm like, well, how did you know to aim off 4 inches and not 8 inches?
Right.
It's like, I just know.
Sure.
I just feel it.
So you know somebody shot their bow a lot.
I feel it.
Yeah. And Aaron's probably as good as many pros that are out there, I'm sure, the way he shoots. But the pros are that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you get guys with rifles, and they're hitting the wind, and they're giving her 3 clicks. I mean, those guys don't have the ability to give her 3 clicks. I mean, I guess they could, but they don't, because the wind, obviously, unless it's just a 100% 4 mile an hour never stops, then you can guess that. But it's always,
it changes.
Gust, sure.
That's where I'm like, okay, I want a heavier front of center. I want a heavier arrow setup. I want to tweak things this year. So that's the path I'm going down.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot mechanicals for years.
2-blade cut on contact,
Yeah, man.
and maybe I'll shoot something. I shot the G5 Strikers.
Okay.
I really like that too. But what I was dealing with is shooting. There's been multiple times where I had to shoot through brush.
Yeah, sure.
Not a lot, but just a little bit, and that mechanical is a problem. The blades, open, or maybe they open before they even got there. I don't know, but and you shoot through just a few little tiny, little wispy branches.
Right. It doesn't take much to move a lot. Yeah. Whether it be fixed blade or mechanical, it truly doesn't. It's so a little bit means a lot.
Well, I shot a buck in Texas, and a whitetail, and that deer was in a plum thicket, and I needed to shoot through about a foot of kind of dense branches to feed it through, and I could see a little opening, and I found where his vitals were, and I decided to take the shot. Fixed blade, and punched right through, dead deer. Like, perfect shot. A few weeks before, I was in Alberta, and I had to shoot a deer, and there were a few kind of branches.
Wheat stalk.
And it was like, but it was a little over, it was about 35 yards.
Right.
But 40 yards, 30, I think he's 38, somewhere in there. But I'm aiming through, and I'm like, well, there's some nonsense branches or bushes, like petty little ones between there and there, but they're up closer toward me, not back right against the deer's body.
Yeah.
And you can hear the arrow hit. It's on video. You can hear the arrow hit some things, like you can hear it as it's going through some branches, and it deflected at like 2 feet. And I'm like, what? And it went in. It actually hit the deer in the neck. Went in like about an inch, and then the arrow just fell out. Just went in kind of weird looking, hit the neck, and then fell on the ground. And the deer jumps away like, what was that? And I'm like, what was that? Like, what happened? And it obviously it lost all momentum. It went in completely the wrong spot, and and it didn't take much.
Right. No, it doesn't take much at all. Really doesn't. And but a heavy arrow would help. But then it's the shot and where you're shooting through and all those good things too. But I've just over the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've just fallen in love with a 2-blade, single bevel. They're tough. You can resharpen them. I can't sharpen a knife to save my soul. I'm a disposable blade kind of guy. Jason bought me a sharpener for Christmas. I can't sharpen anything. So I got to work on that. But they're tough.
Yeah.
And they retain their sharpness. I mean, I went to Texas in April and shot an Aldad. And I shot a couple javelina, all with the same arrow. and not a problem at all.
Yeah.
It's still sharp. You could almost shave with them when we were done.
Really?
Yeah. So super.
Yeah.
You know, if it was another mechanical or something, who knows? I probably would have had one of the arms fall off or break off, or who knows. But I've just fallen in love with them, and again, a lot of animals get killed with mechanicals.
Yeah.
And if it works for you, shoot them up.
I've shot a lot of arrows through the years, and I first, when I first got Black Eagle was through Corey Miller at Triple X Archery in Rainier, Oregon. And that's when I first found them and started using them before I started Gritty Bowmen. And then what I found in there, and we talked about this before, was just the straightness of every arrow. The spine, dynamic spine were out of the box good. And I had this experience with other arrows where I couldn't get them to fly right as soon as I put broadheads on. And Corey's like, well, he just turned the knock a little bit. He's like, there you go. And then they all grouped,
Sure.
And so anyway, as I've gone through that, Aaron has talked about this too. That's something that's unique about Black Eagle is that the spine, the dynamic spine being so like we almost don't have to cull any arrows from a dozen, which matters when you're setting up a bunch of broadhead arrows.
Sure.
And you need them to fly accurately.
And what really matters to the guys, and we give you guys arrows part of our agreement, but to the guys that are buying them. Mm-hmm. When my son and I went to
That's what
Texas,
Aaron said. He's like, when I get arrows from so-and-so and I have to throw away 4 or 5 of them or 3 of them, he's like, who cares? I got them for free.
Right.
But he's like, for the price-sensitive guy who's out there buying arrows, that's frustrating.
Sure. And so I took James to Texas. We shot some good animals, but I literally went to the shop because I was down because my younger son flings him through the woods, and I just we went somewhere prior to that, and I only had like 6, and both of us had bows. 6 isn't going to work for 2 guys. Not the Texas game rich environment. Yeah. And so I went to the shop on Sunday. We left on Monday, and I cut a dozen arrows, glued the brass weights in, inserts, and that's what it took. I put my broadheads on that I knew 100% of the time work 100% of the time. And I want that for every user that buys our products.
Yeah.
The guys that spine them and float them in bathtubs and put electronic analysis on them.
Yep.
If it makes them shoot better and makes their arrows better, God bless them.
And Aaron knows how to do all of that.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like, with his Black Eagle, he could just pull them out and use them.
That's what we want. We spine sort them all, straightness test them. And we want that for everybody. When Danny or Perkins or one of our pro archers wants a dozen arrows, or Marlowe or whoever it is, Sharon Carpenter, now Sharon Wallace or Kaylee, they want arrows. Mm-hmm. Send them the same dozen. I send that guy right there. We don't send 2 dozen or 3, hoping they can find 12 good ones. They get a dozen arrows, a dozen points, a dozen bushings.
Yeah.
Go have at.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be. I mean, because, we all work hard for our money. And money matters.
Yes. Yes.
And it shouldn't be spent on something that, you call X percent out at a high rate. Mm-hmm. Or, you get a bunch of flyers. And then you go, I need a new bow. I need a new rest.
I know.
I'm getting these flyers.
All frustrated.
Yeah. And you're buying more equipment. And at the end of the day, it's your ammo. I tell guys all the time, you wouldn't go out and buy a customized 338 Lapua or whatever it is, 6.5 Creedmoor, and put Remington core locks in it.
Right.
If you did, man, you got to do a little IQ test.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to put a good Scirocco or a special bullet in their match grade at 700-800 yards. I mean, it's going to hit the same spot every time or close to it. And I feel like it's the same way with arrows. I see guys, and I travel with our sales reps all the time. We'll go buy a $1,200 bow of whatever brand it is, and they go, "I'll take those." That's like $30 a dozen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I want. It's like going to Chevy. I'll take a Corvette, but if you could put, I don't know, the smallest engine that you make in it, that'd be wonderful.
And some, Geo Metro tires.
Yeah, right. Put some 12s on it.
Yeah. I think, one thing I've noticed with Black Eagle as well, not to do like a sales pitch, but they've been straight right out of the box and reliable like that. But they are also, you're not sacrificing durability either. Aaron and I are flinging them at the Total Archery Challenge. We're missing I'm missing more than him, but we're missing, and our arrows are skipping across the Bear Creek Archery Range in Colorado, and those arrows hold together.
Sure,
they take a good beating.
Yep,
and so you're not giving up that either.
Right. Yeah, we take some of our arrows, we test them, we shoot them through treated 2x6s. I mean, we torture test them, we beat them up, we send them out. Corey tested that Spartan. We talked about that on the podcast. He was on here with us the last time we did one. We want them to hold up. Again, I think that money matters. We all work hard for our money, and what you get should be the best dozen or 6-pack or 3 or 2 arrows that your money could buy you. And that could be an Outlaw that's $44.99 a 6-pack, or it could be X Impacts that are $194 a dozen.
I use the Outlaw this year.
I love them.
And it's your least expensive arrow, right? And Aaron and I we could get whatever arrows we want.
Sure.
I mean, that's part of what we do. But it's one of the things Aaron wanted to demonstrate was you can use your lowest cost arrow all year long and have a great arrow and be very successul with it.
100% of the time.
And that's what we did. That's what I did. I ran that arrow all year.
Yeah.
And it's been stellar.
I went to Idaho and I hunted mountain lion, and I think I had 2 bobcats on that trip a couple years ago, and I shot them with Outlaws. Man, I took a beating. You shooting Outlaws, that cheap arrow?
Yeah.
No, it's not expensive. It's not cheap.
Right.
I mean, cheap things typically don't last.
Yeah.
It's
inexpensive
less
and cheap. Totally different.
Totally different, right? And I'm like, man, they shoot great. Why would I not?
Yeah.
Well, you could shoot anything you want. I'm like, no kidding.
Well, and Aaron is an arrow killer. Like cannibalizer.
They go there to die.
Yeah, they go to his house to die. They're going to die. They're going to get shot out. And so, budget-minded arrows resonate with Aaron.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we had Valkyrie Archery on, and we talked about their setup. And I'm very interested in trying some of that out, some of his designs. But I'll tell you, Aaron struggles with the cost of a setup like that.
Oh, yeah.
Because he fully plans on losing that arrow or breaking it at some point.
Right.
And so he's like, I can't. For him, arrows are a disposable product.
Right.
Not so he just can't stomach the idea of shooting a $40 arrow into,
the iron buck.
Yeah. It's not cool, So Aaron is all about maximizing those efficiencies while using an inexpensive setup and seeing how far he can take it,
absolutely.
Because he values the ability to shoot lots of arrows and replace them without too much cost,
right?
So we ran that Outlaw and it's a really good arrow.
Oh yeah. We have a lot of success with the Outlaw. It's a great product. It's meant for the folks on a budget, but still want something that's pretty darn good.
I'm ready to try the micro diameter now, and see how
that Valkyrie system uses our X Impact.
Yep.
And so micro diameters are cool. Lots of penetration.
Yeah.
But we use an outsert on ours, so folks that love them, and folks that don't, and it's cool.
Yeah.
But we use an outsert.
I shot them.
That's the best.
I shot a few of them. And they're like darts.
Oh, yeah.
And then we did it in like a really stiff wind. And the back of the arrow moved, but the tip still went and stayed and hit the target.
Sure.
And went deep.
Yep.
I was like, wow, that's really appealing for me after seeing my arrows drift like, a foot.
Right.
And they're 4-fletch. I like the AAE Max stealth vanes because they're quiet.
Yep.
I like the 4-fletch because they just stabilize that arrow so quick. And Aaron's it's a tried and true. He set it up with a helical, then he just did offset. He did 3-vane. He did 4-fletch, and he'll set up. He'll take a dozen arrows and he'll set them up with all these different scenarios. Walk out on the range with his bow,
right,
and he'll shoot them and he'll measure them for how loud they are. He'll see how well they shoot, how accurate they shoot. And from there, he's like, okay, this kind of combo is what works for my bow.
Right.
And he may end up going with a 3 fletch if he felt like that outperformed it. But it seems as though for him, 4 is
the number.
4 is the number.
Yep.
And so for me though, it's like I shot 4, and I'm like, that reduced my. I've lost a lot of feet per second with my little draw and my little poundage. And I'm like, and as I up the weight, I might go with a 3 instead. I'm gonna try it all out this year and check.
Work on
check
holding weight and see what you do best with.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. I shoot 70 pounds and have a 31-inch draw, so I got 99 problems, and speed isn't one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I can get anything to shoot pretty fast.
I'm the opposite, but I'm gonna work on that this year and see if I can.
It's just muscle memory. I mean, it's just a different muscle. It's a different memory, and then once you get it, you just get it. It's like I started shooting recurve 2 years ago. I went on a moose hunt and shot a moose last year with my recurve and shot a bear. But I ended up getting 2 sets of limbs by accident. But what a blessing! Because if you're pulling 56 pounds, I think it is, 58 pounds, 30 inches for the first time on a recurve. After about
stiff.
6 arrows, you're like, this sucks. This blows.
Yeah.
I'm not going to continue down this road. But they end up making the wrong limbs. I'll buy those 2. Mm-hmm. And so I had a 42-pound set and a 58-pound set. I could rock with those 42-pounders, but I worked my way up to where the 42-pounders became so easy, and then I went to 58, still hard, but not nearly as hard as it was when I first started. When I first started, it was totally pray and spray. Yeah. There were arrows flying all through the yard.
Wow.
It wasn't safe to be a neighbor.
What trad bow were you?
I was using a striker bow.
Striker, yeah.
Yeah, all wood striker, super bow. Now I have the RK1 where New Breed and Striker got together, put aluminum riser, and made a recurve. It shoots really good.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like the recurve. I didn't shoot it this year. I did an Aldad hunt, and I went bear hunting with my youngest son in New Brunswick, and we just had a ball, caught some striped bass, but turned down some nice bear. And then I went to Kansas was a bust. I killed a moose in Idaho. That was kind of ridiculous.
Did you?
Actually. Yeah. So I put in this tag. But I said, put a tag. It's a once-in-a-lifetime tag. I said, okay, cool, once in a lifetime. It must be really tough to draw. I get drawn. Yeah. $2,400 moose tag. Wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
And so I go to Idaho. I land at noon. We get to the woods about 5:30. We cut a moose track. See him out there about 80 yards as we're sneaking through the woods, and I'm just giving him a whoa, whoa. And I've watched Jim do this a million times. And Cody, I put the bow above my head, and I'm all cool, like, this is that thing came like it was on a string. By 7 o'clock, it was in the back of the truck. I shot him on the hill, backed the truck up, and drug him right to the hill.
Dang, that's a quick hunt.
Over.
So how did you feel about that? Because I kind of want the hunt.
I was bummed. My buddy's like, "You're not happy." I go, "I'm happy, but." I go, it just was like over so fast.
Yeah.
I go, I'll come back and do it. He goes, no, it was literally a once in a lifetime tag. You can never get that again.
You can't get that again.
I thought, I guess I understood once in a lifetime. Because I think Maine is once in a lifetime. I've been there for 14 years and haven't gotten drawn. Put in for Idaho. First time, moose tag, shot a moose.
Idaho's kind of a moose secret. Like the actual draws in Idaho are pretty good.
Yeah.
But you have to sacrifice other options.
Right.
You got to pick and choose. Do you really want to do a moose hunt, or do you want to maybe, apply for something else?
Right.
And because they make you choose. But I think it's great because it increases your odds. And those moose draw odds are they're the best.
Oh, yeah.
In the lower 48.
Yeah. I couldn't believe this. Maybe no one else put in a $24 tag, but we got a lot of moose. I made 100 pounds of smokies.
I've seen some tags for moose be a 50% draw odd.
No kidding.
Yeah, 40%, 50%.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the success rate is, but I've seen those stats.
Yeah. Maine, I've been 14 years. Yeah. 2 years ago, a game board said, look, if you'll spend $2,500 buying bonus points, you got a 1 in 3 chance. I'm doing it.
Yeah,
I still didn't go
because I see like with Idaho, it is truly once in a lifetime as well. So once you've drawn it, You're done.
Yeah.
And I love that, too, because there's just not enough moves for a guy. It just doesn't feel fair if a guy gets to go twice.
Right.
And other people don't, because most people won't ever get a chance.
Sure.
And so I like the way that Idaho does it. That way, once you've done it, you're done.
Try something else or
someone else's
go somewhere
turn.
else. Yeah.
Someone else's turn. I like the way they do it.
It was awesome. It's over so fast.
I know Idaho talked about, I had Corey Jacobson on the podcast, and they talked about changing the setup, so that it was a preference point system, which it's doomed from the start.
Right.
At some point you'll hit point creep, and no one has a chance except for the top point holders, and it's a dead end game.
Right.
And so I like the way Idaho has it set up right now, and I hope they keep it that way. And I wish a lot of other states did it.
Yeah, luckily the draw is one. Luck of the draw is good. If it's a one and done, let it be that way. Because I know guys in Maine it's put in the same 14 years I have, they've went 3 times.
Yeah.
4 times. I'm like, wow.
Well, Arizona did that deal where you have to have preference points, and it was something like, or even Utah, I think there's out of stater. If you have 13 or 12 points or something or less, you'll never draw the tag. Statistically,
really?
It will never happen.
You just got to put in for 12 years. Hope you don't miss one. Because you miss one, you're out.
Now you're not. You'll never catch up. Doesn't matter.
I got you.
There's so many people that have more than 12 that they will draw out before you'll die first before they all draw out.
Holy smokes.
So there's nowhere for it to go.
Right.
So there's no point. There's no incentive for anyone else to put in for points.
Right.
If your goal is some of these units, statistically you will never draw them.
Wow.
So Arizona hit that point, and they were like a couple years ago, and they're like, well, this does not work. So they had to reappropriate a portion of those tags for the public, so that it's just a straight up lottery, right?
Right.
Because, and then that screwed a lot of guys that had 20 points or more that were about to draw. Now they're like, they need 27, right? Because you took some of those tags away, and now you just made them a straight lottery tag. And it's like, but now everyone has a chance.
Right.
So now it's maybe worth putting in some money.
Get back into.
And so it's a dead end game.
Right.
It's a dead end game.
This is my 9th year for Wyoming for elks. Hopefully this year I'll get drawn for Wyoming.
That's about right.
Yeah.
You should.
I'm getting close to a good unit.
Yeah.
The first 5 or 6 years I waited. I put in the last couple, didn't get drawn, but it should get to be a pretty good fall this year.
Nice.
I think I've got 9 preference points.
We'll have to keep us posted, dude.
Oh, you betcha.
Keep us posted.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's been a couple years, but glad to be back on the podcast. Had a little time here. The weather has changed, so a lot of folks left, so it slowed down a little bit. It's good to get out and see some folks I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're supporting Gritty Bowmen.
You betcha.
And I hope our listeners that are out there and follow folks, fans of the Gritty Bowmen, that they're supporting Black Eagle. Randy, you're a good dude.
They do. Your listeners, viewers, listeners, maybe both. Yeah. They're awesome. I had a call before we got here. I was talking to somebody, and a TV show guy come over and wanted some money. And I said, man, nothing has ever been more beneficial than the Gritty Bowmen podcast. And I mean that with all my heart. I don't lie. It's truly, folks just call us, hey, we love those guys. They speak highly of your product. Guys, come on, talk about your product. And so it's beneficial for both of us.
It's awesome.
We appreciate
that, dude.
Yeah, man. Good plug.
I appreciate the audience. I really do. I appreciate our audience. They really. I wouldn't be here doing what I do.
Well, sure.
If they weren't there. So.
Absolutely.
All right, Randy Black Eagle.
See you, brother man.
Stay gritty.
Yep. Take care.
Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself.
What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild. And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals and the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.